Welcome to Counsel and Community.
Hello, Counsel and Community listeners. This is the Nelson Law Group team here to share practical guidance on navigating legal challenges while offering tips for personal growth and financial well-being. Counsel and Community is where legal insight meets real-life impact. We are excited you are here. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and I am also, of course, joined by Brett Nelson, founding partner of Nelson Law Group, and Sarah Green, divorce care specialist. Brett, Sarah, good to see you guys again.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
Well, so today you're going to talk about considering divorce, and you're going to talk about have you earned your way out? And it's going to be an interesting topic. I'm excited to hear what you mean by earning your way out. But yeah, Brett and Sarah, I'll let you guys take it from here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, so this was a big one. We started talking about this idea. It's something that you talk about with your clients coming in. People are coming in, they want to file. They're over it. It's over. It's ended. And you say,
I hear what you're saying. I understand that you're upset, but have you earned your way out?
Yeah.
And they look at me with, glassed over eyes and, what do you mean earn your way out? And then I sit down and I explain it to them. At the end of the day, a divorce is a huge financial and relational change. And whether you have kids, especially when you have kids, I always tell people that when you get divorced from somebody, if you have children, the relationship doesn't end, it just changes. And it's often more difficult because you don't have the benefit of being under one roof and the conveniences that come about with that. But, when I talk about earning their way out, I ask, have you sat down with your spouse and wrote out a list of all the complaints you have about the spouse and talked about them? And almost universally, the answer is no. Mm-hmm. And then we started talking about some of the complaints, and I said, are you ready to hear your spouse's complaints of you? And they look at me like, oh my God, there's complaints about me. And through this process, you learn that, there's been zero communication about their unhappiness, their perspective of what's going on and what's wrong with the marriage. And it really boils down to, conflict from my perspective in the divorce realm is really about perspective. Whose lens are you looking through? And if you can step back from that and get your client to look at the conflict through the lens of their spouse, or at least try, it's pretty revealing.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is a lot of times people get to this place where they're consulting a divorce attorney and they really have no idea. They've never had a conversation about how they got here or how they're feeling or how their spouse is feeling. They're just kind of stewing in their own upset.
Yes, they have intruding thoughts that have taken over their rational thinking, and they are making an emotional decision without thinking through any of the consequences, intended or direct, or intended or unintended.
Okay. So when somebody's thinking about getting a divorce, what are some common factors that a spouse should reflect on? Like, with that, if you're talking about looking at somebody else's perspective, what kind of questions should they maybe ask themselves?
Well, if they complain about a particular event, you ask them, what would your spouse say happened? Or what is your spouse's view of that? A big one for men is, there's no intimacy in our relationship. And my question is, okay, so what have you done to create an opportunity for intimacy to arrive? And, without an exception, men have a tendency to blame the lack of an active sex life on their spouse without considering the role they play in creating an environment where their spouse would be attracted to them and wanting to be intimate with them. So, that's a tough one for most men to swallow.
Kind of like, I've heard of a hormone doctor that when women go to see him and they say they have low libido, he writes a prescription to the husband to do the dishes.
Yes, 100%. Yes, it's so true. My wife and I went to a couples thing one time, and they spoke of turning the crock pot on in the morning if you want to have intimacy at night. And it's the non-sexual touch. It's the doing, speaking kindly and courteously, folding the clothes, doing the dishes, without being asked and without complaint. It's the little things, in essence, it's service to your spouse. And if you do that on a consistent basis, what you want will eventually come around. And if it doesn't, then come talk to me.
Right.
But you need to focus on what you're contributing to the relationship as opposed to what you're not getting out of the relationship.
That's that perspective piece.
100%.
What does this feel like for my partner?
Yes.
Like, what is their experience of this, and taking an honest inventory of ourselves and the role that we play?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people have a hard time doing that. It's tough to look at oneself and say, what am I doing wrong? No one wants to admit that.
Yeah, I see that sometimes too, with the clients that I serve here is, about 25% of the time when people come to me in the early stages, they're considering divorce or whatever, we start looking at their behaviors. And in some of those cases, it doesn't go to divorce because the person starts saying, well, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the problem. And these are the conversations you're having.
100%.
Yeah,
and I recently, it was late last year where actually came in at the beginning of the year, and the gentleman did not want to get divorced from his wife. And this was the second time she had filed. And so I started to unpack that a little bit. And I said, what do you mean you don't want to get divorced? And, he laid out all the normal reasons. And I go, so tell me about the first time that she filed for divorce. And it was almost a repeat of this time. And I said, so now you're telling your wife for the second time that you want to reconcile, and you're saying the same thing, so why do you expect her to believe you this time when you said the exact same thing last time and you didn't do anything that you said you were going to do? And he sat there quietly, and I said, you want some guidance? And he said, yes. And so I said, let her go forward with the divorce. Cooperate with her in that process, but in the same time, do everything that you said you were going to do last time, but don't tell her that you're doing it. Just do it.
Just do it.
The Nike slogan, just do it. Lo and behold, he went to counseling. He got active in his church, and the way he looked at the relationship and the way he participated in the relationship changed. I noticed a change in him when we met. And they were able to negotiate the terms of the divorce. And then when it came time to finalize the divorce decree, she dismissed the case.
Because she saw the change.
She saw the change.
She saw active change.
Yeah. And that's probably more redeeming and more rewarding to me than, my biggest win in court. I love it when people can affect positive change in their life, because quite frankly, that makes a difference. They had 3 kids. Those 3 kids saw their mom and dad survive 2 very rocky periods of time in their life, and sustain that nuclear family. And obviously, if there's abuse or other negative environment situation going on, you don't want those types of things to last. But when people are making positive changes in healing the relationship, it's just wonderful.
Well, and I often talk about what are we modeling for children, and in that instance, what that couple was modeling was, it can be tough, and marriage can be tough, but we can work on ourselves, and we can create active change, and we can make it.
Yeah. Grace, redemption. One of my least favorite things to hear is, oh, I need to stay married for the kids. Really, let's unpack that a little bit. You have a relationship that's dysfunctional, and you're going to stay married for them. What you're really doing is creating a cycle of tolerance and maybe acceptance of abuse, whereas you should be showing them of what it takes to change that environment, or if it doesn't change, simply exit it. When you're married to the wrong person, it precludes God from bringing you your right person.
Ooh, I'm gonna sit with that one for a second. I like that. Being a divorced person myself,
right?
I like, and it's played out. It's been true. It's been true
Yeah,
in my
well,
life.
my mom got married for the third time at 67. So, and she's been married, and she's 90 now. So she's been married for 23 years, and she's, you know, she found her soulmate. It took her 3 times, but she found her.
I love that. I love that. So what are do you have some action steps, things that you usually recommend to people? I know you talk about this perspective, but are there certain groups, types of therapies, books, things that you have people engage in as part of this kind of earning their way out process?
I think it's really important that you get involved with a strong counselor. If you go to counseling and you're not mad or exhausted when you leave, you're not doing enough work. You need to find another counselor. Counseling's hard work. And if you come out of it feeling empowered or redeemed, then something's not going on, because this is a process where you are honest with yourself, discussing your shortcomings, and your perspective should be turned around so that you're seeing it from your spouse's perspective. If you aren't experiencing that, then I want to suggest maybe that you're not with the right counselor.
I'm interrupting you, but I love that because a lot of times I challenge my clients and they get kind of upset with me sometimes. And I come at them with some hard questions or hard things, and they get maybe a little frustrated or thrown off. And I tell them in the beginning, this is how I work. I am trying to bring the best out of you, and align you with your best self. That means sometimes I'm going to say things you don't want to hear because I'm not here to be your best friend. Yeah. And so I love that. Yeah. That if you should feel challenged if you go to counseling.
100%. Yeah. Think about life in general. I mean, do we get the best result when people are yes people in our lives? No, we don't. Yeah. It's through challenge, probing questions and thoughtful interaction that we get a better decision, a better thought process, clarity.
Yeah, I love that. So a strong counselor. And I know, local like marriage ministries, support groups, things like that, books and resources. If somebody wants to email me at the office, I'm happy to provide those, because those are ways that you can also kind of learn how to affect change.
100%. You got to be very careful about who you're listening to, because if you're listening to somebody who's divorced, when you want to go for a divorce, not a good source. Go talk to the person that's been married for 30 or 40 years.
Ask them to be mentors. I've heard of that.
100%. Because if you've been married for 30 or 40 years, you've had some trauma. You've had some bad times in your marriage. Yeah. That's anyone who has been married for a long time has seasoning, and that seasoning comes about from enduring hardship. And that's why when you go to a wedding or some other event and they have the couples that stand up, then they've been married for 40 or 50 years. You can almost feel it's palpable. The chemistry that they have, it's palpable. You can feel it, I say that the hardships that a couple go through is the fabric that binds them together. And the more hardship that they've experienced, the more dense that fabric is, and the more enduring that relationship is. Good times in a relationship don't build its substance. It's the hard times.
I love that. That's good. Lots to think about. Okay, you ready for our mindful moment?
Yes, sure are.
Our mindful moment today is to think of something that you can do to serve either your significant other, your spouse, or another important person. It could be one of your children, a best friend, but a way that you can serve somebody in your life and implement that this week. That's what we're asking.
It's a great one.
That's great. Well, guys, thanks so much for the discussion. It was great listening to it, and thank you all for tuning in to Counsel and Community with Brett Nelson and Sarah Green. Don't forget, for more insights and exclusive resources tailored to navigate life's challenges, be sure to check out our app. It is specifically designed to support you through the divorce process with expert advice and community resources. Brett, Sarah, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments. For more exclusive content, including helpful guides like our Divorce Care Guide, download our app today and get the support you need right at your fingertips.